The Petroleum Industry Bill proposed to overhaul and reform the oil and gas sector in Nigeria has been assented to by President Buhari, thus making it an act in spite of the contentious issues such as 3% equity share for host communities and 30% for exploration of frontier basins. How do Nigerians feel about the 2021 Petroleum Industry Act? This is Report on ITV. I am Blessing Eiche.
The critical issue for us is not about the percentage, actually. It's about who controls, who defines who a host community is. The bill gives that authority to oil companies. So they determine who the host community is. They determine, mostly, they determine who sits on the board that will control the resource, the money. And in terms of the executive members of the board, they could come from anywhere in the country. They don't have to come from Niger Delta communities. So those are contentious issues. And then you look at the fact that NNPC is now going to become a public company, a profit-making company. Then you set up a profit-making company, and then you ask them to assign 30% of their profit for searches in wild-cat basins where there may be nothing to be found. And so you're creating a bottomless pit for a lot of resources to sink into, to the detriment of communities who have suffered degradation for over 60 years, to the detriment of regions and the entire nation who would really want resources for development. Communities are more or less criminalized. What I mean is that if there's any incidents like pipeline breakage or failure in the communities, oil companies would hold, or the system would hold the communities accountable, even for fixing that problem. And so the 3% that is going to host communities may eventually be used to repair pipelines or to take care of things that are assumed to be caused by third-party elements. Now, we should also mention here that the excuse of third-party interference has been very much punctured by the recent agreement to Shell to pay the Ejama Ebubu communities in Rivers State $111 million for oil spill that occurred in 1970. It took all these years before Shell will agree that it was not third-party interference. So you can see that it's always an excuse to avoid accountability. And now, they will not only use that excuse, they may take communities' money. We've heard even from the spokespersons from the presidency that the law is not cast in stone. Of course, even the national constitution is undergoing review. But it's always more difficult to revise a law than to review a bill.
I see it as a great injustice to the host communities and the host states, as the case may be. Talking about 30% derivative to the state and 3% derivative to the host communities. To me, it's like a case of someone's taking your shirt and returning your button to you. To me, one can never be appreciative for such an unkind gesture. Yes, the bill have been lingering for several years, and we still thank God that finally it has been passed, and a lot of sections or clauses were altered. We expected more than what was given to us. What we are clamoring for at this stage, considering the marginalization of those host communities, of the inhabitants of those host communities, they deserve more better than the 13% to the state and the 3% to the host communities, because they are actually living in an abject poverty. The 3%, as the case may be, will still end up in the pocket of private individuals. We want a situation whereby state will take total control of their resources. Where these oils and be produced, you will be disheartened seeing the kind of life that those people live. There are communities that produce oil here, they don't have lights, they don't have roads. What the federal government should do, fine. If they need to amend the bill, fine. But to me, since it has legal on and it has just been passed, we are not looking time soon for amendment, because those that benefit from the oil sector, they wouldn't want it to be amended. They wouldn't want the clauses or the sections that would benefit the masses to be included in it. So they did everything possible to remove those sections. So starting all over again for the amendment is not something that is going to be possible now. And away from amendment, we want the government to sit down and think of what to do apart from depending on oil. If the gold and other natural resources could be mined extracted in other sections or in other part of the country without government looking into it, without them taking control over it, why can government also look elsewhere and allow the states that produce this oil to also take responsibility of extracting on mining or exporting this oil, and again pay taxes to federal government?
I do not see anything worth celebrating in the passage or assenting to the Petroleum Industry Act by Mr. President. First and foremost, we have to look at the content of the Petroleum Industry Bill that was the basis of the original agitation for the creation of a Petroleum Industry Act. What they have passed now, from what I've seen, is just like what I would say, something that was just done to fulfill all righteousness. Yes, you talk about giving 3% of the money to the host communities, which is nothing compared to the level of environmental degradation and environmental hazards that the host communities are confronted with on a daily basis, on a regular basis as a result of petroleum exploration activities. And then you are now talking about giving about 30% for frontier exploration. Frontier exploration is not being done in the areas where we found petroleum deposits. It's not being done in the areas that have been damaged by reasons of activities of petroleum exploration. Frontier exploration addresses states or areas where they are looking to get new petroleum products. Most of these frontier exploration jobs are up north in the country. I believe there will be amendments as time goes on.
The initiation of this bill from beginning was really meant to be a blessing to the Niger Deltans and the host communities to be able to sort out the degradation and also to ameliorate the pain and the suffering of the people of that region. And when you look at it critically, you know that this particular bill that's supposed to be a development to the lives of the people crippled through how many National Assembly sections. You can see that the insincerity is what has kept the bill crawling. I've not seen any bill in the history of this country that have been since the inception of the National Assembly, and up till now, it is now that we are now saying we'll be able to assent to that bill. So you see what are the intentions of the previous administration and the people that were in National Assembly for not assenting to it. It has gone into a peak, and you see that it's always been withdrawn back. You see, I felt that what is happening right now, I'm not too happy about it, because I felt that the percentage for host community is not supposed to be what we're supposed to have now. I feel that what we can do for now is to begin to move for the amendment. Look at the bill. A lot of things have crept into this bill. If you look at the original presentation from beginning, this was not what we are having now. Go to the Niger Delta itself, you see that where people takes the oil from, how many of the people are gainfully employed? As we are talking today, how many of the Niger Deltans are part of the NNPC, ahead of the subsidiary? How the amendment is going to pull through is another thing entirely.
Respondents have expressed reservations about the Petroleum Industry Act. They say the contentious issues can be addressed with an amendment, even though it will be a rigorous process. I am Blessing Aiche.